to be open for every culture and for every aspect of our technology, I would say.
That is awesome. 100%. It is something that, you definitely have to choose your words wisely, because you might have grown up one way and then, of course, not knowing through cultures that you are definitely offending somebody and you're definitely in the wrong. So that is great. Does anyone else want to add regarding using technology and leveraging it to enhance transparency and accountability?
Yeah, I want to add on to Isabel. That was really amazing. So when it comes to posting, like you always want to put like, who are your audience? Like who's going to be reading this post? So you want to be as universal as possible before you creating a post, even any marketing pieces that goes out there, because everything that comes from our phone, our post, our marketing, like it lays down on us. One word can change the whole dynamic of your post, and you don't want to offend any race, any nationalities out there, just to make sure that you're triple checking everything before you post.
100%. And two, I just want to kind of touch on AI, because I know that that's definitely a hot topic, and it's incredible what kind of resources we have at the tips of our fingers, right? But I'm curious though too, because what are your thoughts on it? Because it's an amazing tool. However, I feel like I always say, like, you have to use AI with AI. You have to use actual intelligence with the artificial intelligence. So what are you guys seeing out there when you're using AI to create content? Because at the end of the day, these platforms are pulling from sources like Google, they're pulling from everything else. And I don't know if you guys experienced it, but like even like searching like some, like, so let's just say a celebrity's birthday, it'll tell you the complete wrong birthday. So we know we can't rely on it 100%. It's a great starting tool, and it's a great for us to kind of open our minds up. But what's your thoughts about using AI and really kind of proofing that, making sure that we're not just copying and pasting, but we're really proofing in that process?
Holly, I'll add on that. So it is important to know your craft, understand it, because sometimes it's pulling from wrong data. We've seen this before. We're not going to name names, but they grab it from sources, and there's ways to move the algorithm and information. So it is important that we are educated on our own, knowing the experts kind of fact check, take a look about what it is. But I also wanted to add, technology, AI is a powerful weapon, and fair technology for everyone, because that's the hardest thing, is certain groups have more technology than others are educated. So if you don't have access to internet, you don't have the tools to allow you to look at it, or you have to pay for data, you are knocking out and leaving some of the population behind. Right? So it is important that we do have fair access to the internet, fair access to data, not that you have to pay for everything, but how do we get it? Because then we can look and check data information, because some people skew it and it's wrong, right? And then social media pushes out in a bad way. So I think you do need to really get technology for everyone. Otherwise, you're going to leave a segment or many people behind that do not have access to tech and to plug in and understanding how to use it.
100%. That's amazing, James. I agree 1,000% with you on that. And I think one thing too I want to kind of talk about is there's so many different services out there that do help us kind of stay in the feed, if you will. So you can go up and sign up for those auto posting services. And I think that's one thing too people have got to be aware of, is make sure you do your due diligence and research that too, because whenever, whoever this is coming from, it's not you posting it. So making sure you do, checks and balances to the content that's posting on your behalf from a third party. I think that's something huge that a lot of people don't take in consideration. Okay, so let's go on to our next question. But yeah, sorry, you guys, I can geek out on technology and all that stuff all the time. I'm just a MySpace kid that never grew up. So that's just how I am. But anyways, let's go on to our next one. And Reggie, if you want to take the lead on this question, what steps can real estate professionals take to ensure they are providing fair and unbiased services to clients from all backgrounds?
Absolutely. Making sure one thing is that you're very cognizant before you put something out there, right? Leading it from a place of understanding and also a place of compassion and ethics in your mind and heart, because out here you can say one wrong thing online, or you can do one wrong thing or say one wrong thing as practitioners in real estate itself, and you could really mess yourself up. So I would say main thing is going to different events, including everybody in on things. And the main thing is that when you're putting a sign out or wherever it may be, make sure it's not offending anybody, right? We all have our own opinions and biases, but end of the day, it's not about what you think. It's all about being professional and being considerate for people and having ethics on board at all times.
100%. That's awesome. Thank you, Reggie. Anyone else want to add to that and their thoughts on it?
Yeah, I would say that agents can avoid this by staying informed on fair housing laws, promoting diversity in their marketing again, and treating all clients the same way. And just to be careful to avoid steering. We are all licensed, and we all know what needs to the step that needs to be taken when working with community, right? And making sure that you partner up with fair housing organizations as well.
100%. And Yisbel, I'd like for you to take this next question because, again, you being part of NAHREP, and I'm saying that because I was part of NAHREP last year as their marketing director here for our local chapter. So I know all the working parts of that. And as you guys know, there's so many other different amazing national associations out there. But what initiatives or partnerships have been successful in promoting fair housing practices within the real estate sector?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, there's so many resources that we can access, and to increase affordable housing, addressing systematic, basic, and leading practice, or even expanding fair housing protection to communities, right? But we can definitely reach out to different sources and get in contact with those organizations so you can. Every county is different, and I'm pretty sure that every leader, every organization should be able to have access to all the affordable housing programs and to address them.
Holly, I would like to also add, if you go to www.areaa.org, we have the State of Asia America report. We've been evolving it since 2015 to understand the Asian American Pacific Islander community. It keeps getting bigger, but it is important to not leave anyone behind, because as a group, it looks like the numbers are pretty good, but when you break it down, not all communities, especially Pacific or Islander, Southeast Asians, are not doing as well. So it is important to go deeper into the data with everyone's community. It's easy to lump everyone together and not get to know, educate yourself on the details and the nuances. So I do encourage everyone to take a look, and there's a lot of great information there.
100%, James. And that's just it. You said a keyword, educate yourself. I guess that's keywords, unless we do hashtag educate yourself, then it's one. But definitely, I think that's a part of it. We get so busy trying to, convert leads or close deals that we forget that, wait a minute, we've got to work on our business. We got to, instead of working in the business sometimes, and working on the business requires educating yourself. And it is part of going to those different groups. And I think it was interesting because, like I said, last year as part of NAHREP, and I would go out, of course, boots on the ground, and talk to these agents, real estate agents around the area, and other real estate professionals in the industry, mortgage lenders, so on and so forth. And it was kind of mind-boggling to me, because a lot of the responses when I'm like, hey, come involved, membership is just at $49. Here's the benefits. And so many people would be like, well, I'm not Hispanic, or I'm not Latina, or I'm not insert whatever they want to say. And I'm just like, well, no, but that's why these groups exist, because it's not just for these specific groups. It's really to help educate and help create those connections to further that. So are there any other partnerships or any other groups that you guys want to share regarding that can help position real estate agents to promote fair housing practices?
Also, I can speak for being a Black veteran myself. I would say people can join different veteran organizations out there to understand where it comes from, the military aspect of things, because that's another group as well that some folks may not understand from the military aspect of where we come from for certain things, because a lot of us come back from deployment and we want to, like I say, become homeowners, or you get the person PCS into another location and hey, they have to end up selling the house because they have orders. So I would tell people going to join this organization, MWR, even like say Wounded Warriors Project, all these different veteran organizations out here that people can join and see what it is that we do. We're not just people that served or are serving, but we're also humans too. So
100%. One I do want to throw out too as well is going to be, the Alliance. For those who aren't aware, I mean, like, I feel like they have a huge, strong presence here in Oklahoma. So hopefully they have a presence as equal everywhere else. But that's going to be the LGBTQ plus community too. So there's all these different ways and so many different groups that everyone can go in and be a part of. I mean, you don't necessarily have to be, I mean, I know we're all spread thin. You don't have to join the board, but become a member, support them, show up, bring a colleague to them for sure, because all these associations are created for that intention of education and really promoting fair housing.
And Holly, I just want to give a shout out also to the Realtors, NAREB. So it's important that we're all added, because we all say there's the different families when we come to the multicultural groups for NAR. So it's great to always see them. So I always love to give them a shout out also.
That's wonderful. And also I wanted to add that you can join also the National Fair Housing Alliance. And like she mentioned, there's so many organizations to educate and to promote. And even though if you don't have the time, just join and help and collaborate and donate, however, so we can be as united as possible.
Yeah, you guys, it costs $0 to share it on social media, these events that are coming through. Maybe you're not able to make it to, an event that they're hosting, but just sharing it with your group is huge and impactful as well. So just keep that in mind. Going back to our little bit of a technology tip there is, using that share button, because it costs nothing to shout that out and really kind of bring that awareness, because, I feel like even like newer agents too, coming into the business, they're so focused on like learning the craft. And then from there, like, I feel like at least when I went through real estate school, that was never really obviously fair housing was most definitely a topic, but those groups to be involved in, how to get involved, was never really something that was put in front of me. So I think, too, taking those newer agents under your wing and sharing with them and really kind of getting them excited about that, because I'm telling you, with every DEI event I go to, I've never been to one that's been, a bust. It's always amazing. It's always fun. It's great to educate yourself and surround yourself with your colleagues and learn something too while you're there. Perfect. So absolutely. Okay, Paul. So let's go to our next question. The next question we have and this is going to be a good one. And do you want to spend a little bit of time on these next couple of questions, because I feel like they are very powerful closing questions, if you will. And in that same breath, I want to say, anyone who's listening to us live, if you guys have questions for the panel, feel free to drop it in the comments, and then we'll make sure to touch on them as well. But Paul, I want to talk about this because it's a big no-no. What are the most common mistakes you see and hear in the industry that agents do and that they make in regards to violating fair housing laws? And what advice do you have to those agents to help avoid them?
Perfect. So for me, like the most common mistakes in violating fair housing laws often stems from like not negligence, but more of ignorance rather than malice. A lot of times agents are so like rush into writing a contract or submitting an offer, but not really explaining every document that's on hand. We must remain vigilant at all time, educate ourselves and also our clients, and actively challenge any behavioral language that may perpetuate discrimination, because like a simple word can definitely change everything. You also, for me, I still consider myself as a new agent because I've been in the industry for 4 years. But if I have questions, I seek guidance to my mentorship. I seek guidance to my broker. I just want to make sure, like, if I'm writing something, it's not offending anybody. One advice for me, as I'm not a new agent anymore, but my advice is for new agents to like slow down, relax, take it a step at a time, because one thing that you don't want to do is disservice your client by not giving them the right information.
100%. And, on this question, I know we've been just having an open forum, but I would love for everyone to kind of touch in. So Reggie, what do you think? What do you see as a mistake that agents make? And of course, I'm not going to say that these people are doing it on purpose, but they happen. So what mistakes do you see and hear in the industry? And then how can we avoid them?
I also had to vouch for the same information that we're just discussing about was making sure you know your contracts. Know them first and foremost before you go out there and market your service and what you're doing. Because if you don't know your contract, you get into doing a deal, you say or do the wrong thing, hey, it can be, held and used against you. So knowing that first and foremost, also along with marketing, be cognizant if you're doing these videos and stuff. Don't put a lot of your personal, like say, biases or emotional feelers out there. Be professional, be cognizant, and always do the right thing with integrity. Keep that in mind.
100%. One thing too, I want to add to that too, Reggie, is property descriptions, you guys. Like, be so mindful. You think that you're like, like, oh, I'm just gonna like tell how awesome this community is, but there are those words that people use and they don't understand it, but you are most definitely violating fair housing laws. So what are, Reggie, on that, and you're talking about marketing, what are some words that you think that people, how do I say this? What are some words that you see people use that are like, oh, that is a big no-no, let's not use that?
Ooh, some of the big things, regards of like, let's say race or a certain gender, just excluding a whole bunch of people out of something, or only for this community here. I'm like, oh, big no. Big no. So just got to watch that stuff, and training, continue learning this stuff, knowing the policies, the laws that are ever changing in our country today. So that's huge.
100%. Yisbel, what are some of the common mistakes that you see agents make in violating fair housing laws, and what's your advice to avoid them?
Yeah, I will say that there's sometimes there's a lot of lack of common sense. Sometimes we don't put in the other people's place, and this is a big deal. This is about buying one of the biggest investment in anybody's life. So we have to be cautious. We have to slow down. And for me, education is non-negotiable. Like for my team, education is huge. I think it's out of respect to serve people without investing in ourselves, in education, and know our contract. Like Reggie was saying, we are liable for every single customer we represent, because we're actually writing up offers and making sure, be careful what you say, be careful, and disclose. I'm pretty sure a lot of agents heard that through their career. Make sure you disclose, make sure you are prepared, make sure you're well trained for the job you're doing, and take that serious, have common sense. We are serving our community. If we have a business today, it's because there's people that have a need. And so we must represent them at the highest level possible.
100%. And I want to add to it, because I remember being a young gun, new real estate agent, and I was actually calling around for my own self for a property. And I remember calling a real estate agent, and he was like asking me these questions. And I think that's one thing I too want to point out is agents, be careful of what you ask and then your responses to those answers. Because I remember, talking to this gentleman, and he was like asking me questions like, oh, so is it just you? Are you single? Do you have kids? And I was like, I have kids and I am single. And I was just kind of like taken aback, because I was like, okay. And he was like, well, just so you know, this community, like it is family, but it is married and da-da-da. I was like, sir, do you not realize what you're saying right now? I remember, and he didn't I don't think he understood what he was saying. And I definitely was quick. And of course I wasn't rude or any mean or anything, because it comes back to education. Now I could have came back at him like, spicy and like put him in his place, but that wouldn't be helping him, right? That would probably help him. But okay, I'm glad I said that to that girl. However, I did educate him, because I was like, do you realize what you're saying to me? And you are violating fair housing laws, because you are pretty much saying, hey, since you're a single mom, you can't live here because you need to have a spouse or you don't need to have children. And I was blown away. So those questions like that, you guys be careful. And of course, we all know, like, the senior communities and things like that, there are certain communities where there are restrictions, but they're done within the law, versus telling somebody like, oh, that's cute that you're a single mom, but yeah, you're not a fit for our community, because we prefer, people who in relationships or married or whatever. So saying that, James, what do you see real estate agents on mistakes that they make, and how can we avoid them?
Yeah, and you know, as agents, we get a lot more focus and attention, but sometimes it's the service providers we need help too. We all saw what happened with the lending and the appraisal. That was terrible because we could do all the right things, and then behind there's other things that are happening. So we need to be always very vigilant. We need to educate all the services to really help everyone understand, so we can tackle it from all different angles. So holistically, you know, we're serving, hearing, giving back, and helping, right? Because it does take a community. It can't be one person, one group trying to push this, but we have to do it within the whole service of residential, commercial, and everything else to push it and understand. Because there's a lot more services than agents, right, out there. And sometimes I see it falling through where they're not as educated because we're getting pushed on the agent level, but it filters down on the service levels.
Yeah, and one thing too, I want to ask, because I know we are very grateful to have some commercial experts in this panel lineup that we have. You know, because it's so funny, because to me, I feel like just being in the residential area, I feel like commercial is almost like the wild, wild west. What regarding commercial, what are some of the fair housing laws that people think they're like, oh, we're commercial, we don't necessarily, that doesn't pertain to us? I'm curious, because as a residential area agent, I just feel like commercial is like this mythical beast that no one really knows much about. So I'd love to hear your feedback regarding commercial, and anybody else that has feedback specifically to commercial.
Reggie, you want to start?
Yeah. I would say today I had to do a showing for a nice young woman for a location out in Virginia Beach. And literally I had to educate the property manager and landlord on the type of business that she does on a daily basis, but also through the qualifying process, you know, getting her, let's say, 2 years tax returns, getting her information for the type of business plan, marketing plan, but making sure she is set up the right way to get this location. So it's non-biases along the way, because I'll be honest with you, on the commercial side, I've seen some commercial practitioners be biased because it's a certain business. Oh, what type of business is this? Well, I don't know. I said, well, let's sit down and talk about it. Let's see how long they've been in this business for. Let's see their financials and give them opportunity just like everybody else, especially to new business owners out there. Give them a fair opportunity, a fair shake to land a commercial space.
100%.
And I just want to add, you can't violate laws. So a lot of times, you know, commercial, yes, we're a different animal, but laws are the laws. And a lot of times within not to fair housing, but discrimination, there are laws and rules. So just because you think you're on the other side doesn't mean that you're absolved to run wild in the Wild West, right, Reggie, and do whatever the heck you want. You better stay within the laws and rules and regulation. And I would say, right, the golden rule, treat others like you want to be treated. So learn, and that's why all these groups, and even though I'm in commercial, I've always been very involved in NAR and multicultural and diversity, because it is important regardless of what part of commercial real estate or real estate you do in general.
I agree. Yeah, you know, commercial, you guys are amazing, but you're still not above the law. The law is the law. So that was funny, James. 100%. And leading to that too, just to say, like, you know, if you guys are on the other end of it, or you guys experience that too, don't be afraid to speak up. I know sometimes we can be paralyzed with either like, oh, I don't want this to come back on me, or I don't want to be a tattletale or whatever, which is crazy to think. But at the end of the day, we owe it to our profession, we owe it to our clients to be that voice when we see things, because, you know, the clients might not have an understanding of all the laws that, you know, they're protected with. And they might think, oh, it's okay for somebody to tell me because I'm a single mom, I can't live here. But we definitely know that that's not the case. So I just want to encourage everyone, if you guys are out there experiencing something, stand up and say something and address it, because, you know, if you don't, unfortunately, that probably won't be the last instance that person would go through or experience. So anyways, the next and final question that I have for you guys, and I really want to spend some time on this one as well, because it is talking about, you know, looking into the future, right? So looking ahead, what changes or policies would you like to see implemented to further advance fair housing principles in the real estate industry? And James, I'll get with you first.
Well, I'm glad that, they're starting more education, but I would like, because the way you get to know people, as Anita said, you got to show up, you got to meet people. You don't just take a course, take a test. We all know sometimes you just check a box. So I would love for people, if you're involved, to really show up to an event, get to know different people, and you'll find out you'll really enjoy it rather than just, I got to go through this course, check a box, I got to watch this video. And people just go through the routine rather than get to know people, why the main purpose of it. So I would love to see people engaging, get to know other people as a, here you go. And you'll see once you do that and open that up, you're going to really love it, understand it, have that aha moment to actually join and try the other groups. And boy, it's like a buffet. So you can try all this delicious food. We all like to try different foods, and you're going to really get a great experience. So I would love that part, is the human element, not just the check a box academic part of it.
100%. Of course, we all required to do CE, but go above that CE. I love that challenge, James. Like, everyone challenge yourself to, outside of just your required continuing education, get more involved, make it a point. Maybe if it's just once a month, find an event that you can go to and really collaborate, engage. And I can guarantee you're going to have a great time. I can guarantee that now. So you guys can message me if you have an awful time. I'm going to get 0 messages. So Yisbel, I'd like to hear your thoughts too. What kind of policies would you like to see implemented or changes when it comes to furthering the advance of fair housing principles?
Yeah, I think this is a very important question because there's an affordability issue in many areas. And I believe that for future policy, we should increase access to affordable housing and addressing some type of system, and also kind of like verify and systemize the lending practice as well. Because I noticed some lender, I don't know, I just heard some comments about the loan process of doing in a specific kind of program when someone has a down payment assistance. I think we should probably increase more the systematic kind of thing and base it on the lending practice, and also to educate to those people that might don't know that there's affordable housing available. Some of them they don't even know. So that's definitely what I will focus on.
Absolutely, that's great advice. Reggie, what kind of changes would you like to see your policies implemented?
I would say uniformity, making sure it's clear across the board that everybody has the training. And then also I can vouch, just like James said, that people immerse themselves of understanding different types of groups out here, going to different networking events, going to meetup groups, really sitting down and understanding what people are about. I mean, I would say take the middle path, just be open, willing to learn, and making sure these lenders and or these service providers are doing the same thing.
100%. Paul, do you want to take this one, close it out for us? The last question we have here.
What's the last question? The last one that you just had?
Yes. So sorry. Yes. The last question regarding to what kind of changes would you like to see or policies implemented to further advance fair housing principles?
I really feel like every agent should be accountable for every meeting that they have. Because a lot of times people are just like rushing into sending a contract or writing an offer, right? But right now we have to put a step back and see it from our buyer's perspective, eyes, and see what we can do to help them out. When it comes to the lending side as well, like we want to make sure that they're also knowledgeable for every requirement or guidelines that's been changing. I feel like there's guidelines and changes almost every month now. And July, we're having our settlement. Like right now, like our focus should be like, what can we serve and what we can give and what more value we can give to our clients than just a commission. For me, you always want to find out why you want to do it, not because you want to get paid. It's all about why you're doing it for this person.
I love that. That is a great statement. And I know we still have a little bit of time left. So those who are tuning in live, there are some opportunities for you guys to hop in and have a comment, or maybe we said something, you're like, you know what, I can relate, and you want to share it with us. We would love to. So it looks like we actually have one. So a comment from YouTube. there are agents who make assumptions about customers. They assume they need, they assume they need financing or can afford certain neighborhoods. Leave your personal biases behind when working with others. And that's 100%, because how many times do, people judge a book by its cover? How many times do the worst, we all know what happens when you assume, right? I'm not going to finish that sentence because we're here live on YouTube, but we all know what happens when you assume. And I will say this just as a quick story. Like, I remember, again, fresh-faced real estate agent. I feel like I was like bright-eyed, bushy-tails, super excited. And I remember that there was a walk-in, like, people walking in. We're back in the day when people would actually walk into offices. And there was this one gentleman that came in, and you guys, it blew me away. Like, 3 agents was like, I'm not going to waste my time with them. I am like, I would love to talk to him. I sat down, and based upon his physical appearance, these people assumed he couldn't afford something or assumed whatever. And I'm like, I don't know this guy, but I can't wait to get to know him. At the end of the day, he had bought his daughter with cash home, and everything. It was one of the best clients I've ever worked with. And I feel like some of those agents in the office, they missed out because they were assuming, based upon his physical appearance, that he didn't have money or whatever. But it just blows me away how people can do that. And I'm sure, like, there's, you guys, not you guys specifically, but out there in the world, you guys have caught that. But you've got to check yourself, because that's the worst thing you can do, is assume. So on that, do you guys have anything you want to add to?
Yeah, Holly, I actually want to share something pretty quick with you. And I always say that we need to do this business with passion, treating everyone the same. There's something about that I love about this business, and it's serving. I just love serving people, and I always tell my agents, serve everyone. It doesn't matter. It's an obligation for me to serve, because if you're licensed, you're here to serve. And so when I was teaching, I was having an open house lab, and elderly come in, and he was a little bit dirty and all that. I don't know. I just have so much passion with elderly people. And I go, oh, welcome. We have some fresh waters on. And so it happened to be this person to be a millionaire. I serve him, and from there, he does all his deal with me. He bought multiple homes, multi-unit, 10, 15. So do not judge people. Just do it with your heart, do it with passion. And for me, for housing, it's just not a legal thing. It's an obligation.
Correct. Yeah, we have an obligation. We are here to help people get keys to doors. And it's, who are we to sit there and judge people, or who are we to sit there and assume and say, oh, I'm not going to talk to that person because they look a certain way, they talk a certain way, they walk a certain way, whatever it is. It blows me away, like, how people can kind of get in their own head on that, and they almost think that they're better than somebody. And I think, really heavily lean into empathy. It's definitely a requirement, I feel like, in the real estate industry when it comes to helping and serving our clients. Does anyone else want to chime in on that?
I'll just add something on the commercial. This is the funniest thing. Usually when we were representing a client, drove up in a Mercedes, drove up in a BMW, the person buying the building drove up in a pickup truck. But the brokers were showing them this $7-8 million building, but he just drove it in his overalls in a pickup truck. Right, Reggie? In commercial,
Yep.
You definitely don't want to judge or miss out an opportunity just because you stereotyped them. We always say the richest person that buys a building drives the worst cars. But us agents, right, we buy kind of a showy car. So I just had to throw that in.
100%. One comment we have on YouTube here is, here's something, say something. We are in the people business, so relationships matter, which that is a beautiful comment, and definitely a great way to kind of end that conversation, because you guys check yourself before you wreck yourself. That's all I can say. So with that being said, I just want to thank you guys so much. And I want to kind of put a bow on this, if you will. So let's talk last words. I'm going to go around, and Paul, we'll start with you. We'll go around everywhere else in the room. How can everyone tuning in find you? Because as we all know, you guys are on this panel for a reason. Of course, people listening in, they see why you guys are here. So how can people find you? And then, social media, so on and so forth. And then also, I'd like to hear one last piece of advice or words of advice, closing words that you'd like to share that we didn't cover today.
Perfect. So for me, you can find me on all of my social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Just my full name, Paul Tolentino. I'm the only Paul Tolentino right now in the world. My final word of advice to everybody, to all agents, is always prioritize empathy, education, and your advocacy in your real estate practice to create inclusive and equitable housing opportunities for all. Because you never want to assume. Real estate transaction is not just a transaction. You want to give them the experience of a lifetime.
I love that. Reggie?
Oh, yes, of course. I'm on all social media platforms. You can find me, Reggie Moore, Golden Lakes Real Estate Group, powered by eXp Commercial. One of the main things I'll tell anyone out there, words of Maya Angelou, is not what you say, but how you make them feel. That's the basis of it right there.
I literally just got goosebumps the way you said it. I was like, that was so smooth. 100%. That's great. Great quote there. Isabel?
Yeah, so you can find me as Yesbel Vera, just exactly as it's writing down here, in all platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You find me first and last name, and also my team, Kingdom Group, as well. And I will say, have common sense. And I believe that we are not here to sell, we are here to serve. And fair housing is not just a legal obligation, it's a fundamental right, and discrimination has no place in housing at all. And yes.
Beautifully said. James?
Thank you. This was fantastic. I learned much as I was sharing, so I always love to learn on these panels. So you can follow me on LinkedIn is the best way. And one thing is I always say, follow the golden rule, treat other people the way you want to be treated. And that's the thing that I live my life through, servitude and gratitude towards everything. So I'd love for anyone to reach out, especially on the commercial end, because there's a lot of development and everything else we want to do to help housing and educate more people. So residential, we got one part. Commercial, we got some work to do, right, Reggie?
Oh, yeah. Indeed.
That is amazing. Yeah, whenever I was looking at the panel lineup, I'm like, oh, we have two commercial people here. That's so exciting. So it's great to hear, because a lot of us residential, we're in the trenches. Like I said, I feel like you guys are some mythical beast out there. Oh my gosh. So anyways, yeah, it's so cool to kind of hear from that world, and just to see you guys are people too, just like us. Anyways, you guys, as we wrap up our Engaging Fair Housing panel discussion, we extend our gratitude to our amazing panelists. So guys, thank you guys so much, like golf clap, for your amazing insights and valuable insights at that too as well. So to continue the conversation, everyone listening in, you guys make sure you connect with them. Everyone just told you where to find them, how to find them, and connect with them through the social. Remember, real change starts with awareness and action. Thank you for joining us today. Let's strive together for a more just and inclusive real estate industry.